This past weekend, a scary movie was out. Was it the scariest movie? Is it going to be the scariest movie of the year? Or, like the thumbnail says, is it overrated? You'll find out. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Here I come. Here I come.
We will watch your career with great interest.
You are such a cute.
This is where the fun begins.
It's showtime.
And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is my review of Undertone, a Canadian film maker who did this on a very low budget and has been panned as one of the scariest movies this year. Now, for some, it may be scary, and for some, it may not. And I'm going to get through all of that. I'm going to try to make it as spoiler free as anything. But I'm not a critic, but I'm trying to play one. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, please. It is free to subscribe. But let me get into Undertone now. It is a movie that looks pretty good from the previews. I saw the trailers for it, and it seemed like a very interesting movie. And then it was dubbed one of the scariest movies of the year. It is not the scariest movie of the year, as one movie will be crowned that supposedly on my birthday weekend. We'll see if that one is, but it looks pretty good too. But this one here is a small budget Canadian film, like I said, basically telling the story of one podcasting host, Evie, played by Nina Kari, who is caring for her dying mother, who is played by Michelle Duquette. Now, these are the only two people you actually see in this film. One is catatonic, and the other is Evie. So, it's a joke. So we see Evie taking care of her dying mother, and she is a podcaster by night. And by night, I mean like literally the night. She is setting up on her computer at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know when she has the time to sleep, but if I was doing it at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, like I feel even bad doing these at 9, 10, 11 o'clock. But she is doing a live podcast show, which at times seems not live. And I'll get to that in a minute. But so anyway, she's doing these live broadcasts. But throughout this film, and this is a slow burn film, and it does not rely on gore and jump scares. So there's a spoiler right there. Because what it deals with is audio, intensifying horror. Some people are very frightened by noises. But as this movie progresses, you hear everything very, um, you know, scarily, basically, and crystal clear. And at times you don't know if it's coming through her podcast's headphones or it could be coming from the house. There's also a lot of trick camera angles in this film, which ratchets it up the intensity of the moment and where you're looking for jump scares. And sometimes there is a jump scare, and a lot of times there is not. but the idea of thinking about, is there going to be one? And it draws you away from Evie. So basically, the third person in this equation, or what you see, is this one house that you literally only see: the house, Evie, and her mother. Now, when Evie is all set to go, you can hear the microphone from the podcast. And then she puts on her headphones, and you hear that noise canceling sound where only she can focus on this. The rest of the house at this point becomes null and void to her. Even though she does have some uneasy feelings at times, and again, I think this is because she's a spooky podcaster who is um, is very much into debunking and, you know, being the non-believer. Her partner in crime, and there are three voices that you'll hear throughout this film. Actually, four, but it's really just a quick one from her ex-boyfriend. But for the most part, you will hear Adam DeMarco, who plays Josh. He is her radio host in crime. Now, he is a true believer, a true crime believer, a true paranormal believer. So the two work, pretty opposite each other. However, there is an undertone that um, that they could have been in a relationship in the past, because there is the, hey, how's your mom doing? And she tells him, not great. And then she talks about his, how's your relationship going? And he asks about hers. And then he's like, you need to get out of the house. And she's like, well, I really can't leave mama, And then she asked about her brother. We don't know if she had a brother or not, because we don't really get to see anybody else or hear anybody else. And then she's like, well, no, I'm the only one that's going to be able to help. But then he's like, well, maybe I can come out and visit and kind of help you. And she's like, no. So again, I think there's some history there which we do not get into. The two other voices you're going to hear throughout this film, before you get into the creepy voices over and over again, is a woman named Jessie, played by Kiana Lynn Basata, and then Jeff Young plays Mike. These two are married couple who are expecting a child. So, as this movie, like I said, slow burns through, we get her day, Evie's day, which is basically the sound of a pot of tea, the tea kettle going off, and at times that is, a driver for what is about to become. Then she goes upstairs to check on her mother, and for a few times there's a little statuette that keeps showing up in her room. Now, her mother cannot move, cannot speak. So how does this little, tchotchke, as they sometimes call it, um, literally wind up in different places in the room, which is usually on the nightstand? So she opens the nightstand up, and there's a box of crayons with some coloring inside, which will become important toward the end of the movie. But she puts the tchotchke in, closes it, goes away. Day's over. She goes to talk to Josh again. There's this awkward exchange, and then Josh says, "Hey, I got an email about this couple, Jesse and Mike, and we should really go through this email. It's a little odd because there's 10 voicemails or voice recordings, and the email email just says, try to get through all 10. And she's like, well, do you know what they're about? And he goes, no, I wasn't going to listen to them without you. So um, she's like, well, why don't we play it? Now, again, while all this is going on, the camera will pan away, kind of away. So we're not looking directly at Evie. But behind her is, this open doorway where the hallway is, where the stairwell is. And then the living room is over to the other side. But the camera will slowly move away, which draws your eyes to that opening. And the music, and then listening to them talk, ratchet up. And again, you're just waiting to see something there, or you see a hand there, or see something fly by, whatever it is. And I think they do a good job of setting that whole thing up. And then, nothing. And it's kind of like, okay, we're going to wait for this. We're going to continue to drag this through. And we're going to make it, scarier every single time. So they get into the first couple. And Evie starts to get uneasy by the third one. Now, what we hear in the first couple is Mike is recording Jessie at night, talking in her sleep. But she's not really, so at times she talks in her sleep, and other times she's singing in her sleep. So the first night, Mike and Jessa, she is singing the London Bridge in her sleep. Justin plays so Justin at this point thinks that, Josh thinks that there's something more sinister going on there. And, why is she singing it in two different ways? So Josh looks it up and is like, hey, let's look at, all this little folklore tales about playing these songs backwards and hidden meanings. And, Evie's like, well, what are we talking about here? Why would we want to do that? And, again, she's the skeptic, he is the paranormal believer. And as they're playing it backwards, Josh starts to pick up on tones, saying that there's words in there, and Evie can't hear them. So, he draws up the audio file, and he plays it back for her. He slows it down, he speeds it up, and she starts to hear a few things. And Evie's like, well, what do you think it says? Because I'm unclear. Josh says, well, Mike, kill her all. Mike, kill all. And he's like, I don't know what that could mean. Is this a reference to Mike, or is this a reference to the song? And then he looks up London Bridge, demon symbolism, and or some kind of hidden message inside children's songs. What he learns is that there is a demon called Abuzo, who lured women who deem themselves unworthy to be mothers to bury their kid, or have their kids being taken and buried inside the London Bridge construction. Pretty creepy. So the next message she is now singing Baba Black Sheep, which now triggers Evie because I'm assuming this is some kind of musical song that her and her mom used to sing probably all the time when she was a kid. So she says, "Okay, let's take it down." Now again, she says it's a live podcast, and so she's like, "Well, let's cut it. We'll clip it and we'll put it out on Friday, or we'll pick it back up and try to finish it." Josh says, "Okay, let's go. We're good." And then next morning, Teapot goes off, and she's downstairs, and she hears water running downstairs, upstairs. Again, her mom can't move, so why is the water running? She goes upstairs just to check. She's still in bed, still trying to breathe, and so on. She turns the water off. A little later on in that, she goes back into the bathroom and throws up. She calls the doctor. The doctor asked if it was about her mother, and she said, "No, I think I need to take a pregnancy test." Okay, so I'm like, what? She's going to leave to go to the hospital to take a pregnancy test, but she couldn't run to CVS to grab a pregnancy test. So, whatever. Um, yeah. So, um, before she goes the next night to do the podcast again, the doctor strangely calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and tells her that she's pregnant. Again, another one of these things that I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what doctor is calling somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or, you know, nurse practitioner or whatever. But who's calling somebody at 3 a.m.? So, okay, got to get through that. So she talks to Josh really quickly, says, "You know what, I really don't want to, I don't feel like doing a podcast tonight." So she said, he's like, "Is everything all right?" She's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow." Um, but as she hangs up with Josh, the light is on upstairs in the room. Okay, again, her mom is catatonic, cannot move. And so she goes upstairs. Um, the light starts to flicker a little bit, and she turns it off, and she goes to bed. The next night, and again, there's a lot of times where um, you know the light in the opposite side of the room goes off, and again, she's not getting up. But this is where the music starts to pipe in, where it's getting intense, and she winds up turning the light off, but behind her in the hallway is a white shadowy figure. She turns it back on though, just in case it was her mother that needs to get up, even though it's not. But she also sees the statue again. So she takes the statue, she puts it in the closet and closes the door so that if her mom needed to go and find that, she could find it in there. Then she gets a call from her ex-boyfriend, who now she's pregnant with, and he's like, "Hey, let's go out. You need to get out of the house. Just come out for a couple hours." And she's like, "No, I really can't. Um, I got to take care of mom." And he's like, "No, you need to take some time. Just come out with us and then go home." So she kind of does. She says, "I'm sorry, Mama," and then leaves. Comes back the next morning. Her mom's on the floor. So the attending nurse comes over. She talks to Evie, and it's like, could she have gotten up? Like, how did she fall out of bed? She can't answer. Well, obviously, she can't. A little later on that afternoon, or another time, Evie confesses to her mother that she's pregnant. She feels kind of um, wrong about it. She doesn't know if she could be a good mother. Um, she wants to have her mother give her some sign of, what she should do, because she doesn't really want to have this baby. But if she had to, she would have to. So they get back to the podcast, and uh, Josh finds out about Abizu more. It was a folklore who said to cause miscarriages and drive mothers to murder their own children out of jealousy, as she herself was infertile. So now, as these recordings get stronger and stronger, and you know, Mike is now fearing for Jesse, and Jessa is feeling um, more about Mike. There's more going on. There's loud banging. There's shadow figures that they're saying, um, but they don't know where the banging is coming from. And Evie now is starting to feel very uneasy, because if this is true about this demon, maybe she can't debunk it. And now she also has a strong feeling about how, oh my god, I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do with it. Maybe I'm unworthy of this. Am I going to be susceptible? Oh my god. Will I fall victim to this so-called? So now she's becoming, but she also fights it a little bit. She's like, this could still be all a hoax and everything else. And Josh is like, no, I really think this is. She's like, okay, we're gonna stop. So on this night, though, there's a lot more going on upstairs, and uh, she winds up going upstairs, and she hears, she hears stuff that she hasn't heard. She goes into the room, turns the light on, everything's fine. Mom is still there. She turns the light off and goes away. So again, it repeats the same kind of a pattern until we get closer to the end, where now Evie is starting to play the recordings backwards, especially with um, Baba Black Sheep. She she starts to write down the words she hears, and it says "lick the blood off." Okay, now she's starting to get a little scared. Now stuff is happening around the house. There's more noises, water's running, the kettle's going off. There's movement upstairs, but again, her mom isn't moving. So what is moving? So again, the music just kind of, and the audio noises of a spooky, scary house is going on. But again, there's nothing flying around. There's no demons, hiding out in closets, or, gory stuff. It's just the isolation of being in a room or in a house that has audible noises, and her now paranoia, not only of her grandmother dying, or her mother dying, because um, the doctor told her about what you would hear when she dies, the curdling of the breath, and just the awkward sound of death. So if you're one of these people that sits at home some nights and you're afraid of things that are going on around you, you go and lock the door usually, or you like gotta turn the lights on, or curl up in a blanket and go to sleep, or turn the TV on. But for Evie, that isn't the case. She just kind of goes about it. As we get to the end, she now is more than ever looking, looking toward to see what is left of these audio recordings. So we get to the very end, and now she has the crayons and paper, and now she's listening to um, more banging, and now there is children crying. There's a child crying. They haven't had the kid yet, and you hear banging and banging and banging, and it's getting very, very creepy. Now we've got now we've got you know the camera panning away from her and up the stairs, and the lights on in the mama's bedroom are going off, and you can hear things kind of creeping down the hall. But we don't see that stuff. So again, it just draws you in, draws you in, draws you in. So finally, they start taking calls. And again, uh, they're recording this live, supposedly. But now they're going to take a caller. The caller claims to be Mike and Jess's neighbor, revealed the couple was found dead in their home with plastic bags over their head and crayon drawings of babies all over the wall. The autopsy revealed that Jessa was pregnant at the time of her death, which we knew from the thing. Josh asks, how do you know this? Like, where, and like, do they know anything else? She hangs up. Then another caller calls and wants to speak to Mary. This is where Evie now is in full panic mode because the only person that she told if she had the child, she wanted to name it Mary if it was a girl. So the caller says, I want to talk to Mary. And it doesn't relent. It's constant. Josh is asking, okay, who is this? Who is this? And then Evie starts yelling, who is this? Who is this? Now lights are going off in the entire house. The living room now has light bulbs that are popping everywhere. There's a red light in the um, family room. There's a TV on as well. That's what's radiating the red. Evie is getting so frustrated, and she wants to know. And then they hang up, and then the final caller, named Abby, begs for help in calming her um, crying child, ultimately murdering the infant, despite Evie and Josh's plea with her not to. So, again, this is playing with Evie's emotion. Josh is really trying to get this girl, Abby, to not do that. But then, as this starts to happen, where you can hear the child, getting banged against the thing, Evie confesses that her mother has already died, which she feels she inadvertently caused by refusing to pray for her. So she's admitting that she let her mother die. And so, she's trying to confess all this stuff so that this demon won't enter the fray. Well, she now gets really nervous. She goes into the living room, and on the screen is a creepy picture of a woman kind of smiling, like the Smile movie. But then it starts to draw out as she's trying to break the TV. She tries to unplug it, but it's already unplugged. It's not even plugged in. And Abazu, you can hear it over and over. Abazu, 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 Abazu. On the table where Evie was drawing is now this large portrait of Abazu. Now she runs into the hallway, and the lights start to flicker around, and all she sees is little children bodies written in crayon along the walls, all over the place. Now, this was emblematic of what they found in Mike and Jess's house when they found them dead, because there were cartoon drawings, crayon drawings of the babies all around the room. So now she goes into the bedroom. Mom is no longer there. So was she making this stuff up? Was her mom even there? Was she all alone this whole time, pretending mom was still there? But as she sees on the bed that tchotchke that literally has been kind of the vocal point is sitting on this bed that looks freshly made, or has been made for some time. She looks on the walls, and the religious paintings and frames are all looking directly over this bed. But as she turns to look at something in the mirror against the wall, we see her mother standing in the bathroom with her back to. She turns around and she sees her mom. The screen goes black, and you hear an attack, and you keep hearing Abazu, 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 Abazu. And that's it. So again, is it scary? Is it not scary? Well, again, it depends. I did hear audible gasps at times by people. So again, these are probably people that are very um, noise sensitive, or very freaked out by noises that go bump in the night. Um, a lot of people are. As a person who has done ghost hunting, it doesn't bother me. What did bother me, though, was the constant um, um, hearing the baby crying during some of the more intense recordings toward the end. Now, again, I think that is just me being a parent and um, hearing crying, but this is more blood curdling crying than just the cry that you hear of a normal child, and it really kind of bothered me. So again, is it kind of creepy? Yeah, it is creepy. But is it one of the scariest films of the year? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Depending on your point of view. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 76. Audience score at this point is 52. A lot of mixed reviews. Some people do think it's one of the scariest movies, and then other ones are like, we're so tired of the slow burn, and the only reason why we couldn't fall asleep is because the noise was so loud. Well, I think that was the intent of this film, was we're not going to show the gore. We're not going to show the jump scares. We're not going to have those moments of, ha, gotcha. We wanted to build up that suspense. We wanted to build up that terror inside of you. And at times it worked for me. Like, you're like, and I got caught up in it, where I'm looking off away from Evie. I'm not looking at Evie. And I think that was the point, was, you're waiting for it. You want to see, a face, or you want to see an apparition, or you want to see a hand come around, or you want to see maybe something get thrown across, or hear something off the distance, but she can't hear that, but we can. We all know or see, maybe there's a time where you see the light on upstairs behind Evie. She can't see it because she can't hear it. Obviously, can't hear the light go off. But I think that was what this was driving to, was the constant build-up. So it is a good film. I did enjoy the film. But again, if you're looking for scary, over the top, that's not what this is. And the director, Canadian director, Ian Towson, um, I think really did a good job of drawing a different feel for um, for that type of horror, because there is a lot of people that do get frightened by this, and because it was low budget, it only took 2 people to film live, and he used the house that his mom and dad lived in until their untimely deaths in 2021 and 2023. And it kind of gave him, a lot of, you know, personal relief. Um, Behind the film is a deeply personal story of demons, loss, and grief. In 2020, during the pandemic, both of his parents received terminal cancer diagnosis, and he moved back into the home in Toronto where they filmed. Um, and so, with him being so isolated and being so dedicated to it, it made sense for him to write this kind of, you know, darkish horror where it's kind of like, um, again, hearing sounds, um, being isolated in the house and hearing things and taking care of mom and dad, and all of that, um, combined with obviously demon. Um, Obviously, clearly, there was no demons involved in the killing of his parents, but you know what I mean. So I think he does a really good job in setting up the audio stuff and making it very believable for some and not for others. And I think that's why there's so much pushback, and the audience scores are down at 52%. Again, some of the critics also didn't like it. It was only 76 Rotten Tomato score. Again, those are those people that probably are like, sound doesn't really bother me. We want to see the scary stuff. We wanted to see Abazu, not just in a picture. Now, the director also said that he was actually thinking, when he wrote it, a trilogy in mind, and A24 was working on it, a potential path to making it happen. It was number 3 in the box office this past weekend. Um, that episode is coming up tomorrow, but um, will it sustain enough to garner A24 to continue this? But where do we go from here? Is Evie dead? Or is Evie alive, but now in a demonic state because of Abazu, posing as her mother, basically, um, at the end of the film when everything got chaotic? Will it be Josh's turn? Because we never see him. We only hear his voice. Or will we go back in time and find the original Abazu, where the demonology came from, the folklore, if you will. So that would be kind of a prequel. But if he has a trilogy in mind, I don't think a prequel, but maybe there is. I don't know. I mean, it could work. But again, I'm not the writer, so, and we'll see. And we'll see if A24 decides to do that. All right, so it is worth seeing, but if you're looking for scary stuff, it is mostly audio. Um, at times you could probably be like, oh man, this audio is really creepy, or man, just let's see the jump scare. There isn't any. All right, if you have seen the film and you liked it or didn't like it, comment down below. And again, I think it is worth a look. Anyway, I know um, it wasn't that scary for me. Like I said, at times I was bothered by the sound of the wailing of the child, and then of course thinking about what they could have been doing to that child under demonic pretense. That really worked me. So, all right. Look for more stuff this week, and I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.